stocking fabrics out. I found all 3 of them, so I showed 2 already. That's going to be for me, that one for Jason. I'm going to keep this one to the side. I've got a beautiful project bag made by Jules of So Sweet Violet. I got a few years ago in her advent calendar, and I'd actually bought this fabric the year before to make project bags, and then to make myself a project bag, and then the advent calendar that I got had it, so that was very lucky. And I've got some of that extra, so that's going to stay to the side. I'm going to start with these 2 and then do Nina's paw print one separately. I've got my gosh, it looks a little bit creased and it got a bit wet on that side, but I'm still going to use this bit because I cannot be bothered to ask Jason to unwind some from the massive roll for me. I'm going to try and see what I can squeeze out, making a pattern that will fit the fat quarter. Might take me a few goes. I'm not sure what shape of stocking I want, so I'm going to just give it a go and until I've got a nice shape, and I will put the stocking in that direction, which is the left foot, right foot, I don't know. Anyway, I'm going to get started on that, and I'm looking forward to doing the embroidery of the names at the top of the folded edge. I've gone quite straight and then a bit of a squat foot. I don't know, maybe I could potentially go a bit narrower here. I'm going to cut it out and see what I think. Yeah, I think that's what I want, and then it's going to kind of tilt slightly diagonally, and then it will have a little loop. I think that's what I'm going with. I'm going to cut it out and see what I think. You literally cannot handle it if there's paper on the floor, can you? Just can't handle it. Philippines. Do you want to stroke her? Good cow. Any good stuff? No? Did it pass? You're such a silly bean. I have literally just got enough to squeeze one out. Really to squeeze it out there. So that's good. I think I'll work out what I want to do with the top before I commit to cutting, because I do have a bit more height there. So if I needed that height, I could extend that pattern. And all I did was, well, I was going to make the outside edge the size of the stocking and add the seam allowance, but I just couldn't accommodate that with this fabric. So I added the seam allowance on the inside there. I do like quite a fat stocking. I don't like them when they look too lean. I like them to look quite generous, but I am feeling like maybe I could go that tiny bit longer. Ooh. Yeah, I do feel like I could go that tiny bit longer. I'll put on the cuff, and in any case the lining, because I'm going to line it, will need to be shorter anyway, because I want the cuff to roll in and not show a white lining. Speaking of these fabrics, I love them so much. They're so beautiful. I'm a little bit disappointed that I won't be making a project bag for myself out of either of these, but there will be a little bit left from this section. So maybe I could patchwork this one and what I'll have on this together and manage something Christmassy as a project bag or a notions pouch or something, because they're really nice to pull out every year. Oh, I've got that. I think that must be my favourite Christmas one. With the lovely bird there. Anyway. Beautiful, isn't it? So I won't have enough to make something of that size, but maybe just a little sock sack or what. So I marked on here roughly where I thought how much I wanted of a cuff, and I traced it over onto here from that top fold line edge, and then I added a little tiny bit extra so that it would be wider. Wonder if I can get you to see that. See, I've made coats and things before where I've done a turn up cuff, and yeah, can you see I've just gone wider here and here, and that will just accommodate, well, I hope that will just accommodate just a tiny little bit there. I can always take it in after if I think it's too much, but if it's too tight on the cuff, then we'll get like a wrinkling like this on the stocking, and I want that to lay really beautifully flat. So if I just fold that over, name here. So I think we're going to go with that. I'm just going to go and hang it up. I'll pin it all together, and then I'm going to hang it on the fireplace and see how it looks. So it's rolling up and looking awful, but it's just to get a general feel. And then I'll probably cut everything out, mark out the names. I didn't know what names to do because I don't ever call Jason, I call him JC, Jasey, but he said he wants his full name Jason, and he never calls me Christina. He calls me girl or lady, but if his says Jason, then I'll write Christina. And we never call Nina Nina, we always call her Nuna Beans, because you're so beanie. Hey girl, are you beanie? You are so beanie. Little Nunu. So yeah, maybe I'll have a look online and have a look at fonts, or I could just freestyle it. I'm not sure. Just to get some ideas, I like to look online at different fonts, or type in the name into Word and then change it into different fonts and see what we think. But that's the home straight, and I need to find, I have a special pen where you can write, well, you write it back to front, so I write the name on the front, then I take it over to a window and trace it from the back side using the window, so that the ink is, so the ink is on the back, and then I place it on the right point in the fabric and iron it over. I have to try and find that pen, that's very handy. It's much easier than writing it on in pencil or with the fading marker. It's very accurate, but you do have to then stitch like precisely on your drawing because it doesn't disappear. Well, it does fade over time, but it doesn't disappear completely. Hope I can find that. I also do have a little set where it comes with different chalks and charcoals, but that is just a right kerfuffle. That takes more than double the time. That other one is so easy, just write it on and iron it. Lovely jubbly. Okay, let's go down. So I've got the paper template just hanging up. It will be that little bit smaller because you can see that dotted line is the seam line with the seam allowance. But I think we've got just about the right proportion. I was thinking not to go below this line, because we have quite a small fireplace, but on looking at it, I think it looks really cute. And also, I don't love the surround, and that painting I did was kind of a slapdash, kind of just like a quick fix, just so I wouldn't have to see the ugly, chipped, broken, horrible tiles. So these in beautiful fabrics are fantastic because they'll cover most of it. And maybe I can do a big one on either side and Nina's in the middle, maybe, because hers will be, I think, that size, because, you know, proportionally she is a smaller person than we are. I think I'm happy with that. I like the proportion of the cuff. I like the fat foot. I didn't want something skinny and something with an elongated foot with that part, because you can't fit things in when it's too small and skinny. It needs to be a stubby one. And it's quite wide, so you can fit a good amount of treats in. The name's going to look nice. And I marked on, so you can see, that line is the edge. Same on either side of the stocking underneath, and it's just got 1/2 centimetre extra. I wonder if I should have added at the top, but I can always take in the understocking underneath, because you won't see what's under there anyway. Okay, I'm going to commit. I'm going to cut out the fabric, I'm going to cut out the lining, and I'm going to try and find that pen so we can mark on some names. Oh, it's going to be nice. And I got those, I got the houses flattening. She's one of my favourites. I love her, dear. What's happened to your mouth? You're all black. Oh, poor little dear. I imagine that's Nina related, with your poor little ears. Hello, my name is Nutcracker. Oh, this is going to look so nice. It has been a little bit more complicated trying to work it out, but that may be because I just don't have the brain capacity that I once did have. It seems to have gone. But don't those little hooks work well? You could go all the way down to here, or you can just hang on the little one. That's very cute. Oh, I popped a hairband on there just to hang it, just for a second. All right, let's go cut. I've got the two cut out, and I've just pressed them with some iron-on batting. Oh, I don't know what it's called. Anyway, I bought this Fusible Wadding. It's not super thick, it's quite thin. You've got the fusible on one side. I think it's 100% synthetic. Where's the edge? I think it's got something written on the edge. Yes, it does. Violin H640. Wash at 40. So that 15 seconds, that's where I've been going wrong. I've been struggling to get this to fuse properly. But this time I pressed it really well and just left the iron for a few seconds, let it fuse, and then moved it on to the next area over and over again, and left, you know, a good amount of time between. And it means that now it is fused all the way around. So anyway, that's good stuff. I bought that in John Lewis because it's nice for project bags. I don't always use it. I don't always like it in every bag, It makes a very spongy bag, which I don't always want, but sometimes I really do. And I think for this project, it works really well. I could also, I was flirting with the idea of doing some quilting through. I really like the idea of that, but because it's a really busy print, both of them, and I won't be doing that on the cat one, I think I'm not going to for this style. So these are ready to go. Look how lovely and spongy they are. They're going to be very nice. I was also unsure of whether I should cut them out not including the seam allowance. I may have made the wrong choice there. I didn't do that. I went all the way up to the edge. So we will live and learn on that one. May have made the wrong choice. Not sure. See, there's so many ways you can do things, and sometimes the reason I didn't do it was I didn't want it to unpeel inside, and I do like the stitch. When I stitch through, I do like it to hold all my layers together, including that wadding, even though it's fused. I like it to feel nice and secure for years to come. But then the downside of that is then the seam allowance is bulky, but I can trim it away later and trim it away on an angle, so I'm only trimming away the spongy stuff. And then I've just cut out the 4 linings, which I happen to just squeeze out of some cotton, and I've used a plain lining because these both have white backgrounds. In the past, I've made the mistake of using a printed or colourful lining, which is really cool, but then you can sometimes see it through, and that ruins the final product on the outside. So I'm really happy with that. That can all now stay to the side. That's ready. Oh. Now I'm just going to decide on the top fabric. I think I'm going to go with my corally colour for my quilt, for my hexie quilt. Worst case scenario, if I happen to run out of that later on, I'll just buy some more. But I'll lay them on top. I think I've got a minty colour, a grey. I just love that print so much. And then there's also the option of doing the contrast toe and heel that would match the top. So I could do that. I will work on this element first, and once that's done, I'll just lay it on top and just see how I feel about it. It's quite nice when I make garments. I don't go with the instinctual. I make decisions in advance, but with crafty projects, I think it's really nice to make decisions as you go. So, yep. And if I don't finish it today and tomorrow before I go back to London, then what I can do is take these parts with me and do the name, because that will be a good travel project. And then this can stay here ready to just be sewn up. So I think sewing up once everything's done will not take long. And then maybe we'll put some rickrack or some of the pom-poms on. I think that would be cool. Maybe just along the bottom edge, or if we did the heel, we could put the rickrack along there and the toe. Lots of options. That's what I like. I love having these little options with these mittens. Oh, they're so lovely. So nice. And I want this mug. Really want this mug. Welcome to my very messy craft corner. I could have cleaned it for you, but I didn't. So it adds atmosphere. So yesterday, stockings. Yesterday I managed to designed the shape I wanted. I think I'm happy with it. You never know until it's done, and I didn't make a sample, but we're going with it. I've got double-sided, plus I've got Jason's as well. They look really nice together. I picked out the colours, so I picked out the blue to pull out the electric. There's like an electric blue running through there. So I thought that was nice. And then for mine, I picked out this like magenta, purpley colour, and I just thought it went really well kind of with the pinks. So I've cut out what I need there. I've got the scraps left for the little hanging loop. I've also cut out the exact same size in the plain, like off-white cream cotton. So all of that is ready to be stitched together. The only thing that needs doing is the names. So what have I got here? So what I did yesterday is I just wrote into Google different fonts, and I think it was Fonts 101. Anyway, a website came up, there were loads of them, and I just typed in my name, and then it listed loads of fonts, and you could see what it looked like. So I screenshotted the one I liked, which was this one, and I just sat and copied it as best I could, and I thought it came out really nicely. Hope that comes out the right side. See, that looks on the screen to me right, but I think that's going to be upside down for you, back to front for you. So I think, anyway, there we go. Swirly whirly, very cute. And I did Jason's the same font. I think it was called Athena. Anyway, really nice. Well, I had a hankering to give it a go. So even though the light was poor, I used my pen, this one, and I drew on the back of it. I couldn't trace it because there was no light outside, so I just squinted my eyes, and honestly, the things we do when we're desperate to craft. The one flaw with this pen is, as you can see, the colour is blue from the lid. It's not that dissimilar. Kind of comes out a purpley navy, which is not super dark, and it didn't show up massively well on the cotton that I chose. So I then used, I could have used just a pencil. I used the Prim Aqua Trick marker very gently, because this one I find bleeds. So only using the very tip, I just went over it. That's the pen. Aqua Trick marker, and that one goes away with water, so that was good. And I managed last night to embroider my full name. I wonder how it comes up on the screen. So that looks really nice. I'm not massively happy with that bottom bit of the A, but no one's gonna notice. No, literally no one's gonna notice. All right. So that is ready to be firstly fused to some more of the spongy stuff. I really like it. I am questioning now whether I should have gone longer and made this deeper, but do you know what? It's more than enough, and as long as they're all the same depth, I think it's going to look really nice anyway. Yay! Super happy with that. But I wanted to show you a little bit of the how I do the embroidery. So this was the kit that I bought after I did the course. So it was from Mary Curtis Bespoke Embroidery. That wasn't who I did the course with, that was just who sold the kit. And she's got a little bit of kind of information here on how you do it. But essentially, you Well, let's get a bit of paper and do it. That would be fun. So what you want, I like a mechanical pencil. And you draw out what you want to write. So I would like, what would I like to write? Let's do a letter that is not reversible so that you can see the front and the back. So let's say that's all we want, is just a basic E. We then need to trace this onto some tracing paper. So let me grab some tracing paper and we'll trace that over. All right, so I've got my letter there, a plain E. I've hand drawn that just to show you, because the letter is not reversible like an H would be, where it's the same forward and backwards. I just wanted to show you one that is, it would be incorrect if it was the opposite way. Nina, don't eat the pipe cleaner. That is not for you. Nina, you Christmas ruiner. Alright, what you can also do is you can always trace your design from a paper. So if you'd printed out letters, you could use those in any font that you liked. You could print out from a magazine, a copy off a magazine. You can use an image. But all you want is, on a piece of paper, is your design. And then you want to trace it with some tracing paper. This tracing paper is matte on one side and shiny on the other. And it's some kind of, I guess, plastic. This was what I used on the course that I did, but I've not been able to find this elsewhere. So I would usually use an ordinary tracing paper, but I can't seem to find any of just my usual. So this it is. So I'm just going to trace off the E. The reason I like a mechanical pencil is because it's so sharp and you can really get a good result. So copy it off, and now I have my E on the tracing paper. That's the matte side. Okay, the next step, after you've done your entire word, you wouldn't do letter by letter, you'd do your entire motif, if you will. You turn it upside down. It's now, of course, back to front. So this kit that I got, you've got this lovely velvet board. It's velvet on one side and corduroy on the other. The corduroy is less helpful because of the ridges, to be honest, but I think it's just meant to be velvet on each side. Anyway, I've also done this part of the process by just popping it onto some cardboard, some corrugated cardboard, because you can poke holes in it really easily. Well, as it's a light colour on this side, I tend to use this side, and you can really easily see your letter. Now the kit came with this paper pricking tool, which is an ordinary gel pen that they have put some kind of needle in, which is brilliant. Again, when I did the course, it was just a needle that they'd poked into a cork, and you could absolutely use a pin or a needle or even one of like a tack. But all you do is you go all the way over your letter and you make holes all the way along. You don't want to join your holes up to each other. They may be 2-3 millimeters apart. But this tool is genius because you hold it like a pen, and you know, obviously in general most people are used to that. And it's just very convenient. So I've now pricked holes all the way over that, which means when you prick the hole, the paper, the tracing paper, will be, you can feel the holes on the opposite side, and it feels smooth on the side that you've pricked because you push through, and where you make the hole, the little pieces of, the little bit of paper gets pushed through, if that makes sense. Like this side is now textured and the side where I pricked is smooth. That would be the same on ordinary tracing paper also, not just this plastic stuff. So that's now done. The next step would be that we need to then transfer this onto some fabric. So I'm just going to grab a little piece of fabric here. Just this little piece. It's just as a sample. The smoother your fabric, the better, the crisper you get the transfer. So this does have a tiny amount of texture, but that doesn't matter. So now, all we need to do is lay our tracing paper where we want it, and you can use some washi tape to tape it down, which is really handy if it's a larger motif. With this it doesn't matter because it's going to take me literally a second. Now, another thing I really liked in this kit, I mean, I'm not trying to sell you this kit, I don't even know if they sell it, but I really struggled to find the tools after I did the course. And I happened to find this lady on Etsy. So you then use something called pounce, which is just very fine powder from either black charcoal, white chalk, or a mixture of both to make grey. So as I'm using a white fabric, I can probably just use the grey pounce. If it was a coloured fabric, I could use the black. And if it was a dark fabric, I'd use the white. Just going to pop this onto this case because sometimes I make a right mess. And it also came with these little, I mean, she's made all of these things, which is absolutely brilliant. This is clearly a knob off of some dresses that she's bought and stuck some felt on in the relevant colours. So I know to use the grey with the grey, which is great. You just use the tiniest amount in the lid, tap it off, then when holding it down or having it correctly placed, you just use little circles and go all the way over your motif, which in this case is just an E. The reason you're going in circles is to try and manipulate the chalk, or the pounce, into the holes. And remember, you've got that texture. Now at this point, your letter should be the correct way up to your view. Just remove it. And I'm just going to blow that extra away. So that's only the grey colour. And now you go in again with your mechanical pencil and you join. I wonder if have I shown you closely enough? So there we've got the little dots. Now you join those dots up very slowly. You don't need to press down hard. And I potentially could have even used a little bit less of that pounce and rubbed it in less, but I wanted you to be able to see on the camera. Because I'm using on a white fabric, you see it really easily. So that's great. If you found that you've made a mistake, all is not lost. You can use some sellotape, just apply it, rub it on and pull it off. I've got some washi tape there I can just show you. It does help. So I would use a clear sticky tape instead of washi tape if I was going to do this, but before I had drawn the pencil, if it was just the chalk, you just put it on, give it a little rub, and when you peel it off, it takes away some, it would take away some of that colour. And of course you can brush it down, and you could even wash your fabric, I'm sure it would come out. But there we go. That is then ready, so you can see it well, to be embroidered. Now I've only done that E there, but however many letters you had in your name or your initials or your motif, that would be ready. Now this is apparently the classic way of doing it. That's how I was taught. I think this is a right kerfuffle. In order to get to this stage, you're drawing, you're tracing, you're pricking. This didn't take long because it's one letter. If you were doing an entire motif, it can take a really long time. The good thing about it though is this can be reused and reused and reused as many times until the tracing paper is tatty. So I don't know what the shelf life would be on that, but if I were to monogram my initials on like napkins or towels or something, I could just keep that in a little folder, all of my monograms, and I'd just wipe that off with some kitchen roll or some toilet roll and just get rid of the excess on that side, and that's ready to be reused. So I think it's really I love to see different people showing me different techniques, and it's a really worthwhile thing to know how to do. It is a lot of fun. I think it's messy because of the chalk, and I think it takes a long time, so it's not my favourite, but maybe that's because I need a little bit more practice. So now I'll show you how I actually do it when I'm doing my own embroidery, and I'm sure you do things differently as well. I don't need any of this. Gosh, you see how much it spills. What a mess. So after doing the tracing on with using the pricking method, I'll show you how I do the transfer, which is how I did this one. After tracing off what I want, well, I just drew freehand, copying what I wanted onto a paper. I now need to get my pen, my transfer pen, and draw on the back. So I have to draw on the reverse, which is the mirror image, and that will be then laid onto my fabric. It looks cute. So I mean, you can kind of see, even just with a white background, I can kind of see through. And just trace it off this way. That makes a funny squeaking noise. I'm just going through. This pattern cutting paper is actually quite good because it's quite fine. If I was using like a normal printer paper, I would most certainly need to just tape this onto a window wherever the light was streaming through and use that as a tracing box. Because I don't have a tracing box. If you had a tracing box, that would be amazing. I love a tool. I don't think I could get away with a tracing box. I get away with my massive sewing machine because I use it so often that I don't feel guilty one bit by taking up a huge amount of space with it. If I didn't use it all the time, I would probably feel a little bit guilty. And a tracing box, I'm feeling like that would be a guilty purchase. Though I should look, maybe they have collapsible ones. I've not done enough research into that. I'm just taking my time with this because you have to be so accurate. It's really worth just going slowly. It's actually easier than taping it to the window. I'm not very good at drawing. If this is horizontally, yeah, vertically, having the vertical surface is a bit difficult for me. I like using the flat surface is nice. This is my ironing board I'm using as a table. Okay, so that's traced. That should then be looking back to front. Again, on the screen to me it looks the right way, but I think in editing it comes out right. Anyway. Oh, I missed a bit. Got to check it over. And then I go over it a second time to make sure that it's fully saturated with colour, but also making sure not to go out of my lines. If I make a mistake and smudge, I either need to cut that part out. So if I smudged on the edge here, I could just snip that off with scissors, but if it was inside the motif, I'd start again, which means redrawing and very annoying. It's very easy, so you won't make a mistake as long as you're not chatting. That's good. If I was going to put this onto a white fabric and transfer onto white, I wouldn't go around twice, but because the fabric is quite brightly coloured, I really want to be able to see it clearly and quite sharply. I'm not filling in my letters, I'm drawing around the outside as the designers. I will fill those empty spaces with thread. Almost done, and it is looking a lot darker. Okay, so as you can see, these parts are not filled, but I will stitch over from side to side. So that was my pencil drawing. There's the ink, which is the back to front. And this now needs to be laid nicely into the stocking top. I can only get one go at this, because once you've got it on, there's no getting it off, as far as I'm aware. I'll just use... Look, you can see there's a cat in there. Where is she? In there. Hi, kitty. Hi, kitty cat. I'm not one for measuring, however. An inch down. With this, I'm keeping in mind that 1 centimetre along that bottom is a seam allowance. Okay, so nearly 2 1/4. 2 3/8. So 2 1/4. Okay, so it's 2 1/4 from the end of the N for Jason to the edge, and from the beginning swirl to the edge. I'm happy with that. Alright, that just needs now a scaldingly hot iron swiped across it. Well, pressed down on it, no swiping required. And that will be fab. Get the iron heating up. Oh gosh. And it says a dry iron. And I'm going to put that in nice and hot. I know in comparison, when you're just looking at the video, it does seem like those two techniques took the same amount of time, but the pricking was just an E. This is an entire name. I have written out Nina's name as well. Well, I screenshotted the text, so I can write that out later. Okay, that's lovely and hot. Okay, just a few seconds. Ooh, burning my paper there. Ooh, that came out very nicely. Ooh, fantastic. Look at that. See, it was totally worth doing it twice. I cannot stand trying to see what my outline is, but that's come out lovely. Okay, I'm just going to give that a press on the back to get rid of those pin marks, because I put the iron down when the pins were in. And we don't want pinholes in our fabric. Fabulous. That is now ready to go. If there are any areas where you can't see, you can either go in with a mechanical pencil, very gently, or use the washable pen, whatever makes a nice line for you. So that is the way I transfer. It may be completely wrong, it may be completely different than what you do, but that's now ready to go in. an embroidery hoop. Ooh, my name was really long. I had to move the hoop twice. Maybe we'll get Jason's. Yeah. In one go. I love it when you can get everything in one frame. I have to work on small frames because I just think the fabric goes loose on me otherwise. If I use a frame that's too large, these small ones work really well. How big's this one? This is my favourite size. $14 centimetres? No. 13 centimetre hoop. That is now ready to go in my train bag for the journey. That's going to be fun. Oh, I've got my fabric there. I've got the needles. There's a needle. I'm always afraid that the needle's going to damage my fabric, so I always keep it within where my stitches will be. And I'm going to make 2 more little horses with this cream felt because I got my friend for Secret Santa this year and I need to make her something lovely, and she saw the one of this that I made for my friend and she was very jealous. So that was perfectly timed because now for next week's Secret Santa, that's ready to go. So I'm just going to pop the little horse in there with a tiny pair of scissors and some thread. That's one project ready to go. I'll need to remember to put the little bit of yarn for the hanging loop in there. There's the second project. Both ready to go. I wonder if I should, in fact, try and stitch that stocking together. Just one of them. It would be nice to have a stocking done rather than sewing 2 of them on Christmas Eve. I don't think that bringing them with me to work is a good idea. I'll be well distracted. I do also have another little project. You should have already seen, depending on when I publish the videos, you should have already seen the little houses, the village that I put up above my fireplace. And I'm going to dress these 2 little peg dolls. I made these 1 or 2 years ago. I bought way too many of these wooden pegs and my dad drilled a hole through, so I threaded a pipe cleaner through the hole. I trimmed off all the fuzzy bits of the pipe cleaner and then I wrapped her arms in embroidery floss that was like nudie colour and just used regular felt tip pens to paint their faces. The idea was that they would be tree toppers. Oh, look at them, they're so cute. I've left them on the dining room table. I keep finding them in other places because somebody she keeps stealing them and moving them around. So they will need to go up high, but you could either put a little hanging loop or put, I guess, a little tube or cone so that it could go on the top of the tree. That's going to be another Christmas craft that we'll get up to. Oh, it's not liking the focus. Oh, there we go. They're a bit scary. Little bit scary. just finished super quickly stitching up the most beautiful Christmas stocking. Oh, it's so sweet. I'm glad that it's quite stubby and fat. Okay, I've made one teensy error. Teensy, you could barely even call it an error. I attached the hanging loop in there rather than in there. So, okay, my bad. Slight hiccup. What a numpty. Anyway, I wonder if I've got like a little hairband or something knocking about and we could just hang that up just quickly. Yeah, I want to hang it. I can't wait to see what it looks like. That's a winner. Absolutely, that is a winner. So I just literally did 3 hand tacks to a hairband just to see it hang. Oh, I'm so pleased with that. And I can't wait to blue tack the little houses up there. Oh, it's coming together quite nicely. I do own Christmas decorations, but we've never done stockings. And these will now be pulled out year after year. I think that's so special when you make handmade things and then you can pull them out. And it just jazzes up and covers up all those horrible tiles. Such a shame that the postman hasn't come yet, because I could have blue tacked all those little houses up. But next week I will be home 23rd. So on the 24th I will make up the second stocking. And if I've got time, I'll do Nina's. Maybe I won't have time. She won't mind. And, yeah. Oh, so cute. I'm so pleased with that. That is a winner.